Wait,
Okay, so the differences in educational attainment in lower income and Title I schools. Okay, so my name is Jodie and I'm a senior at the University of Alabama.
hello, my name is Ashish and I am a freshman at UTD.
We would like to discuss how the differences in educational attainment in lower income and Title I schools are influenced by gentrification affecting school funding. Okay, so what are Title I schools? Title I is the name of the largest federally funded educational program in the U.S. implemented by the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, the ECEA. The program provides supplemental funds to school districts to assist schools with the highest student concentrations of students at or below poverty levels to meet school educational goals. These children are often not set up for academic success due to the lack of resources and support from their families and communities.
Title I is designed to combat this cycle and provide students with more opportunities and essentially support to achieve their educational goals. The number of Title I students is determined by the number of students that qualify for free or reduced lunch. If the number surpasses the threshold, then the school qualifies for the extra funding. The funding can be used for improving curriculum, instructional activities, counseling, parental involvement, and program improvement.
So why is extra funding for Title I schools so important? Well, without the funding, students of low-income families lack the opportunities and resources that students from high-income families have. So high-income students are more likely to go to college, get higher-paying jobs, have better health long-term, and have children who will continue in that cycle. And low-income students are kind of on the other side, where they're a lot less likely to graduate high school, go to college, and more likely to have health disparities long-term. Their children will often continue in that cycle. So the Title I program was developed to help low-income students reach higher educational attainment and break that cycle.
To help improve the rates of educational attainment in Title I students in Title I, students focus must be directed towards early intervention and instructional activities.
A life in poverty will decrease the likelihood of success in academic setting tremendously. School readiness reflects a child's ability to succeed both academically and socially in a school environment. It requires physical well-being and appropriate motor development, emotional health, and a positive approach to new experiences, age-appropriate social knowledge and competence, age-appropriate language skills, and age-appropriate general knowledge and cognitive skills. It is well documented that poverty decreases a child's readiness for school through aspects of home, health, home life, schooling, and neighborhoods. 6 poverty-related factors are known to impact child development in general and school readiness in particular. They are the incidence of poverty, the depth of poverty, the duration of poverty, the timing of poverty, for example, the age of the child while they're in the poverty, community characteristics, like the concentration of poverty and crime in the neighborhood, and school characteristics, and the impact poverty has on child's social network, parents, relatives, and neighbors. And that is from the National Institute of Health.
If Title I schools receive sufficient funding for early intervention programs, then children at the highest risk will be more likely to succeed.
To accomplish this, we must first identify at-risk groups and strategize on how sufficient funding must be allocated to help these children reach academic success. The table shows demographics of children in Title I schools in the US, and we see the numbers have been on the rise, especially in minority groups. This is due to school zoning and how public schools receive funding in regards to the community that they're in. So on the chart, you'll see that American Indian or Alaskan Natives, their numbers have increased slightly over the last 10 or so years. but not dramatically. Asian or specific islanders have also increased. Same with Black students, Hispanic students. And we see when 2 or more races have been started being recorded in 2010, then they also increase, and white students.
Fact sheet on Title I, Part 8, 2002. So what is the budget for Title I? So in 2002, it was 10.4 billion, and then 2003 was around 11.4 billion. So there were 14.9 million children who received assistance. As for grade level at Title I, what grade level are Title I students? 12% are in kindergarten and preschool. 64% are in the 1st through 6th grade. 16% are 7th, 8th, or 9th graders. And 7% are in high school, and 1% are in private school. The demographics of Title I students: 35% white non-Hispanic, 27% African American, 31% Hispanic, 3% Asian or Pacific Islander, 2% American Indian or Alaskan Native, 1% other from other ethnic racial groups, 2.5 million have limited English proficiency, 100,000 are homeless, and 1.4 million have disabilities.
So how many Title I schools are there? There's roughly 47,600 schools that are Title I, and 58% of all public schools are Title I. So what percentage of elementary school and secondary schools receive Title I funds? 67% of elementary schools and 29% of secondary schools. If you're talking about what percentage of Title I funds go to high poverty schools, that's 46% to the highest poverty schools, 27% to the other high poverty schools, and the remaining 27% goes to schools with fewer than 50% of their student eligible for pre or reduced price lunches. And 96% of the highest poverty schools receive Title I assistance, and 60% support school-wide programs versus targeted assisted programs, and 40% is allocated to targeted assistance programs. How much Title I funding per student do schools receive? Title I allocations to schools average $472 per low-income student in the 1997 to 98 school year.
How were Title I's dollars spent? As of the 1997 to 98 school year, 71% for instruction, approximately 5.5 billion, 12% for instructional support, approximately 822 million, 12% for administration, approximately 835 million. How many states have received approval for their standards and assessment system? 50 for content standards, including DC and Puerto Rico, 27 for performance standards, 15 for assessment systems. And what are the trends in student achievement for high poverty schools? Long-term trend in the NAEP scores depict a widening achievement gap between high and low poverty schools from the late 1980s to 1999, with scores declining in high poverty schools while increasing in low poverty schools. However, trends in the NAEP scores for the highest poverty schools have risen since 1992 in both reading and math. Among low performing students, NAEP trends during the 1990s show no significant change in reading but substantial gains in math. State assessment results are available for a small number of states and show a more positive picture than the NAEP data. In both reading and math, high poverty schools in 7 out of 9 states showed achievement gains over a recent 3-year period. The achievement gap between high and low poverty schools decreased in 6 of the 9 states.
By participating in these programs, children can reap benefits well into adulthood, not just in the realm of education, but in life as a whole. Participation in school-based intervention beginning in preschool was associated with a wide range of positive outcomes. Findings provide evidence that established early education programs can have enduring effects on general well-being into adulthood, and that's from the JAMA Network.
A lack of educational attainment has been linked to health disparities.
Socioeconomic status is a consistent and reliable predictor of a vast array of outcomes across the lifespan, including physical and psychological health. Thus, SES is relevant to all terms of behavioral and social science, including research, practice, education, and advocacy.
To summarize, without more funds through federal fund and schools with a high population of low-income students, the endless cycle of lack of educational attainment means the low socioeconomic status means the disparities in health and well-being will continue. We must break the cycle through implementing early intervention programs in Title I schools and continue to supply funding to the program.
Thank you for
Thank you for
watching.
watching. Awesome.